This might not be a popular opinion, and feel free to disagree with me in the comments if you want to. But just because somebody is a prolific author does not mean that their work is no good. And I'm getting a little tired of seeing a lot of comments suggesting that it is. As a prolific author myself, I am pushing back on the ideas of comments like I was reading on Reddit lately. I won't even consider reading a prolific author because clearly their quality is crap. If someone releases that many books, they must be using AI. Quality and speed can't coexist. It is so frustrating, as I say, as a prolific author myself, that when people make these comments, they are being totally dismissive of the decades of real work and skill and storytelling that so many authors have that are now being overlooked. One of the biggest misunderstandings around prolific authors is the assumption that they are new authors, they are rushing what they're doing, and they are gaming the system. Many prolific authors, myself included, didn't start writing yesterday. We didn't suddenly decide to publish multiple books a year just because AI exists. We have been doing this for years. My 13th year publiversary is on February the 26th, 2026. 13 years I have been doing this, putting out roughly a book a month with few exceptions, but that's what I aim for. I have been doing this long before AI writing tools were part of the conversation, long before self-publishing was as streamlined as it is now, and long before social media decided to frame speedy authors as being suspicious, all because of the AI witch hunt, which I am not going to go into on this video. We need to look back a bit and have a bit of historical context. When platforms like KDP were still relatively new, there was this wave of authors who embraced self-publishing early on. Now, at the same time, movements like the now defunct NaNoWriMo were also hugely influential. This is how I got my start. I learned to write my stories by learning that if you wrote 3,000 words a day, in a month, you could write a novel. That's how I started in my NaNoWriMo in 2013. And I completed it by doing a book and a half. And I haven't stopped. And the whole premise behind NaNoWriMo was that word count, writing regularly, writing even though it was imperfect, just keep going, finish projects, and stop endlessly tinkering with things. That wasn't an error that created sloppy writers. It created productive writers who knew that productivity put books out. That's all you just had to keep doing. You just had to make it was a discipline. That's how I saw it. And it's something I still do today. 14 years later, I still do it today. Well, 13 and a half. Yeah, 13 and a half years later. I still do it today. I still aim for a 3,000 word count every single day. And if I can't do 3,000, sometimes I'll use my dictaphone thingy and I'll do 5,000 or 6,000 because it's easier to speak your words than it is to type it sometimes, especially when you have arthritis. But writing faster is a learned skill and it's not magic. It isn't cheating and it isn't new. It's just that when you've been writing for years, certain things become second nature. Things like your story structure, your pacing, the genre beats, and the character arcs. You're not reinventing the wheel with every book because you already know how, prolific authors already know how stories work. That doesn't mean you don't care. It just means you're more efficient about it because your brain already knows how these stories are going to go. And so you keep writing them. The thing with new authors, and I think this is something else that is overlooked, and this is not a criticism, but new authors often write a lot more slowly because everything is new. Like they're second guessing their scenes. They want everything to be perfect. They're overthinking every sentence. They're not sure that they're doing it right. But the thing is that experienced writers have already made their mistakes. We've already had our awkward drafts. We've already learned what doesn't work because we've put our book out there and the reader slammed back and said, "What's that?" So when they sit down and write now, they're not guessing. They're already applying what they already know. And that's not AI, that's experience. The other thing, which is another assumption, is that, if authors like myself, we talk about having systems or having routines or having repeatable processes. And I think I did a video on that a while ago. Therefore, their work must be soulless. That's not true. That's not the way it is. Professional creatives in every field rely on systems. Musicians practice their scales every day. I know, I used to live with one. Artists, but they sketch every day. Any other creative puts their work in every day, and writers are no different. Writers will have a plan. They'll have defined writing schedules. They'll have familiar workflows for doing the drafting and then the revising and then the publishing. And the systems that they've created over time don't take out the creativity from the work. They are supporting getting that work out there in a more efficient fashion. They are removing the friction so the creative work can actually happen. Another thing that prolific authors are also accused of doing is writing to market. But in this respect, it is implying cynicism or the authors being lazy. But there is another way to reframe that too. If you've been writing in the same genre for years, you get to know your readers. You know what sorts of emotional experiences they're looking for. You know what tropes they enjoy, and you know what endings satisfy them. How does that cheapen your work? It doesn't. It deepens it. Because when an author can understand their audience, they can deliver those stories that are tailored to their readers' expectations. They're not generic. And this is a part of that conversation that often gets ignored. Readers decide what's good. There are thousands, and I mean thousands, of prolific authors who publish 8 to 12 books a year, who have devoted and enthusiastic readers, and who, like myself, receive heartfelt messages about how their stories have helped someone through a hard time. Those readers are not being confused and they're not being tricked. They are choosing those books because they enjoy them, because they've built a relationship with the author, because they understand what the author delivers. And so a quality of a book is not decided by how long a book took to write. It is decided by the reader's experience. And if the readers like it, they let you know and you're doing okay. If the readers don't like it, guess what? They'll also let you know, and they'll let you know where you go wrong so you can tweak it for the next one. There's this whole assumption baked into this whole debate that if something is done quickly, it has to have been done carelessly. But that is not true. A writer can write efficiently. Do we need to talk about my editing process, which takes so long? But you get your stuff edited professionally, and then you go through them and you work through them and everything else, and you can still publish regularly. Speed doesn't eliminate the care someone takes in their book. Inexperience is the issue there. And prolific authors, by definition, are already experienced. That's how they can write so fast. And okay. I want to address the AI assumption directly, because it is getting really, really infuriating. The number of people who actually don't have a clue and who just decide that if an author writes quickly or whatever else, that they must be using AI. Is AI being misused by some people? Yes. Is that frustrating for authors, writers? Yes, absolutely. But assuming that every prolific author, particularly one that's been going for some years, assuming that they must be using AI is lazy thinking, because it totally ignores the years of practice that author has had, the years that those habits the writer has been ingrained in their psyche, the discipline it takes to keep writing, to keep finishing a book, and the craft development that goes into it. Because I always say I learn from absolutely every single book I write, and I do. This comment annoys me because it dismisses an entire generation of authors who learned to write fast before AI was even a topic. So yes, and that assumption hurts the readers too. When somebody says, I wouldn't even consider reading a prolific author, they're not making a principled stand. They are limiting themselves. They are potentially missing out on rich fictional worlds with long-running series and deep character arcs that unfold over so many books. Some of the most immersive reading experiences come from authors who write a lot because they've had the time and the space to build something real, something that's not AI, something that existed well before AI did. Rejecting that simply because of a publishing schedule, that doesn't protect quality. It just narrows the possibility of you ever finding something that you want to read. I do understand that not every book by every prolific author will be for every reader. That's true of all authors. But the presence of less loved books doesn't negate the existence of a deeply loved ones. And prolific authors tend to improve quickly in their craft simply because they just keep writing. And when they write and put a book out and their readers tell them, oh, you need to change this, or this wasn't so good, or whatever else, they grow, they learn. And this was done back in a time when readers' reviews weren't, scathing of the author. They simply helped an author to develop their craft, because that's what it is. Writing is a craft. It's not a performance. And a craft improves through repetition. I've been trying to learn how to draw. I am still useless at it, but I still keep going with it. And already I notice improvements in what I'm doing. Authors are the same. They're trusting the process. They're not lowering their standards. They know their next book will be better. They know that their skills will continue to grow and their readers will respond to their authenticity and consistency. It just comes from doing the job. And I want to say something directly to the newer writers watching this, especially if you enjoy writing regularly and if you like finishing your books and if you dream of publishing consistency, then please don't let this narrative convince you that speed equals shame. I'm not ashamed of any of my books and I never will be. And yeah, okay, I probably take this topic a little bit too personally, but you are allowed to write every day. You are allowed to improve with every book. You are allowed to build systems that work for you to make your outside of the writing work more efficient and efficient. And you're allowed to publish regularly, because none of that makes your book any less quality or low quality. It makes you committed. Prolific authors are not cheating. They are not cutting corners. They are not disrespecting their readers, and they're not replacing their creativity with shortcuts. They show up, they do the work, they are disciplined about it, they learn from their experience, and they keep going. That's what prolific authors do. The idea that prolific authors write bad books is a myth born out of understanding and, frankly, a fear of change. Many prolific authors simply are. They are. They're the people from the early days of Nano. They're the ones that keep going for years. They're the ones that are like myself, that sit behind my desk here in my little house and make myself a living every single year for 13 years, doing what I do well before AI ever came into the conversation. And we keep doing it, and we'll keep doing it. And the day that I don't finish a book, it'll be the day I die, because that's the only thing that stops me from finishing a book. Judge books by how they make you feel, not by how fast the author writes. And if you are a prolific author, or if you're becoming one, then know that your dedication really does matter, and your stories do deserve to be read. I know I did get a little bit heated in this one, but it annoys me when people can be so flippant without even giving an author a try. And I've seen it happen to so many authors for over years. But yeah, hopefully, hopefully you didn't mind if I got a little heated at times. But if you do like this sort of content, I promise normally I'm very nice and very sort of mood uplifting and everything else. I do have a backlist here on YouTube as well. So I post long form content on Mondays and Thursdays relating to writers. And on Saturdays recently, I've started doing chapter readings of my own work. This is for readers or for anybody else that just wants to listen to it. And honestly, I'm doing it to help boost my watch hours as well. I do answer every comment, good or bad. And I'd love it if you hit the like and subscribe button, because that always helps my channel too. But in the meantime, I really just hope that you'll keep writing, my friends, because that discipline, that keep writing, that keep showing up, that is really important. And if you keep doing that, you will get your book finished and you will get it published. And I believe in you. I really do. Don't let any naysayers say anything different. But keep writing, my friends. Have fun with it. As for me, I'm going to go and have some lunch. Maybe I'm feeling a little hangry. That's why I got a little irritated on this topic. I'm not sure. But anyway, my friends, until the next video, we will catch you then. Keep writing. Bye.